I think streaming services are killing movie theaters. Before streaming services existed, I feel like the movie industry looked very different. People were watching every and any kind of movie in theaters. But the rise of streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and HBO, and now so many more services have undoubtedly changed the film industry. Not only with the way movies are distributed, but it also changed how movies and shows are being made now. And I really think we are starting to see the decline of movie theaters. This whole situation came to my mind after I saw The Fall Guy. It's the perfect example of a popcorn flick. Recognizable actors with great chemistry, good humor, and a story that doesn't take itself too seriously. The critics loved it and the audience loved it, and it had two of the biggest movie stars of last year. Both Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt got nominated at the Oscars for the supporting roles in Oppenheimer and Barbie. It even had a crazy marketing campaign with the stuntmen from the movie performing stunts at every premiere. But somehow, the movie still flopped. With a $160 million budget, it bombed at the box office. While some can argue that the budget was way too big for the kind of movie it is, it still made me want to figure out why it flopped. And while it can be for plenty of different reasons, the fact that the movie was released on digital after only 2 weeks in theaters certainly did not help. And this is the problem I'm getting at. Movies used to have a way longer theatrical window. You would have to wait at least 9 months or up to a year even for a movie to be released on Blu-ray or on streaming services. But now, the average theatrical window is only around 30 days. Theater attendance has been declining for more than a decade now, but with the rise of streaming services, it has gotten way worse. No wonder people don't want to pay for movie tickets anymore when you can just wait a month or sometimes even shorter than that, and you'll get to watch the same movie in the comfort of your own home. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not trying to convince you to only watch movies in theaters because at the end of the day, having more options is better for the consumer in almost every scenario. Whether you're tight on money right now or you just don't live close to a movie theater, having the option to see it on digital is a good thing. But I still think it's interesting to think about how this whole situation will change how movies are being made and distributed. When the pandemic happened, a lot of things changed. When everyone was in lockdown, theater attendance was at an all-time low, and so studios had to make a change. Some movies were delayed, others were indefinitely delayed or straight up canceled. But the movies that did get released ended up on streaming services on the same day of the theatrical release. Warner Brothers released their entire 2021 release lineup on digital the same day that they released in theaters. And while this was definitely a good thing because a lot of people weren't able to go to theaters, the impact of the pandemic certainly did not help the decline of theater attendance. People realized, why would I go pay for a $15 movie ticket for every movie I want to see when I can watch the same movies on the streaming services I'm already paying for? And so when the pandemic ended and everything went back to normal, theatrical windows didn't necessarily return to normal either. Some studios kept the short theatrical window to then put their movies on their respective streaming platforms. Warner Brothers, for example, ended up settling with a 45-day theatrical window. So the same thing that kept people at home during the pandemic is still a thing to this day. There's also an interesting dynamic that streaming services have created with production studios. Let me give you some context first. In the 80s, production studios and movie theaters signed a bill that made it so they are separate entities and owned by different companies, so that the people that make movies are not the people that have a monopoly on the distribution of movies. Imagine if Warner Brothers or Disney owned their own theaters that only played their movies. This would be absolutely awful, but this is the exact thing that's going on with streaming services. Everything used to be on the same platform, but now that companies saw how lucrative having a streaming platform is, all of your favorite shows and movies are now separated across different platforms owned by their respective companies. And the price of all of these platforms combined have become incredibly expensive. So you have to choose which platforms you actually want to subscribe to instead of having access to every movie and show available on digital. Not only is this really annoying as a consumer, this is fundamentally changing how shows and movies are being made. We are seeing a rise of movies made to go straight to digital. Granted, most of these types of Netflix originals are pretty awful, But that's beside the point. We are facing the same problem movie theaters have faced in the early days of Hollywood, where production companies own their own theaters, but now with digital distribution and streaming services. Now, I don't exactly know how to fix this problem, but I do have an idea. My dream scenario would be that streaming services would be more like music platforms. Every music platform has access to the same music. It's not like Kendrick Lamar's albums are all exclusive to Spotify or something. You can listen to his album on whatever platform you want. So instead of choosing the platform based on exclusivity, you choose the music platform you want to subscribe to based on the features and pricing. I truly think this will be great for streaming platforms. Imagine this. Your friend recommends you to watch The Office, but instead of searching it up on Netflix only to not find it and then realize that they moved it to Peacock, so now you have to put your credit card in and start your Peacock free trial only to forget about it and then getting charged for a month even though you're never going to use that service anyways. Imagine if you could just find it on whatever streaming platform you normally use. I think this is the best case scenario for consumers. And on top of that, if you keep the theatrical windows of movies longer, you fix the problem that movie theaters are facing. I am aware though of the legal challenge of putting this kind of system in place. Movie rights are scattered across thousands of pieces of intellectual property, and tracking them all is just not possible. This is why some movies or TV shows are not even available on any streaming service. And not only that, a lot of movies and TV shows that we love only exist because of exclusivity. A lot of the popular shows we watch would not even be produced if it wasn't for streaming platforms. But despite some of the drawbacks of this idea, I truly believe this would be the best version of streaming platforms. Make it so every platform has the same movies and shows, and then we can choose which service we subscribe to based on the specific features that we like or based on the competitive pricing. Just like music platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. And keep the theatrical windows longer so that people actually have the reason to go to movie theaters. Because some of my favorite moments and favorite memories I have of movies were all in movie theaters. Let's not take for granted movie theaters. I did a lot of research and worked really hard on this video essay, so if you would just take 2 seconds to subscribe and leave a like, that would help me out a lot. I'm trying to get monetized, and if I could do YouTube instead of working a part-time job, I would have a lot more time to make these videos, and I just love making them. So yeah, if I don't have any new uploads, you can check out my last video where I reviewed Furiosa, the new Mad Max spinoff, and I talk about the importance of dialogue in movies. So yeah, see ya.